those of you that don't know, I coach soccer here at Dakota Wesleyan. And what I want to do my practicum on, I wanted it to be meaningful to me and what I do for a living. So I decided to do changing the culture of the Dakota Wesleyan men's soccer team. And when I first started the practicum, I was the assistant coach, but now that I'm ending the practicum, I'm the head coach. So I have a little more control over obviously what I was doing prior to when I was starting with the practicum. But basically, what I saw coming into the program last year, this last 2019 2020 school year was my first year with the team. I saw a divided group of guys. Like there was people got along in a sense, they kind of tolerated each other, but there was a lot of little groups. There was animosity between the returners and the newcomers. And that was created just kind of by the words that were being used by the leadership, like kind of saying like these new guys are gonna come in and take your spots, as opposed to saying something like the new guys are gonna come in to help the team be better. So just kind of like the choice of words. So when the new guys came in, the returners, it kind of created an environment where the returners were hoping that the new guys would get injured or that they would mess up so that they could play. So it wasn't like necessarily like a team environment. It was more of like what's gonna help me. It was just people looking out for themselves. There was also emotional reactions to stressful situations from everyone in the program, coaches and players alike. And then there was a lack of work ethic and accountability. So that's what I saw coming in. I came in as a GA. I wasn't like a paid assistant or anything. So for me, I wanted to come in and learn, but I also knew I could contribute a lot. And that's something I had talked to the head coach when I came in, was that I wanted to make sure that I had a big role with the team. So fall of 2019, and the reason I'm talking about this is obviously before my practicum started, but this kind of set up why I did my practicum. So fall of 2019, I came in as the assistant at the GA. Basically, I was introduced to the team as the tactics expert. I have a lot of background and I have a lot of knowledge within the game. I have done videos and create curriculum for clubs, and I sell the curriculum to other clubs. So I kind of came in as that. Basically, my role last season was to run all the practice sessions, anything that had to do with the sport of soccer and recruiting. I did that. And as much as I thought we were going to do well, because I felt like we had a good understanding, at the end of the day, we had guys on the field that didn't really want to play for each other. And obviously, anything soccer doesn't matter if you have a group of guys that aren't willing to work for each other. So that's what last season went. I don't want to dive into too much of that, but the postseason goal, that we did some goal setting right after the end of season, where we had the guys list out 5 qualities that they felt that they had, 5 qualities that they wanted to have by the end of the spring, by the end of that school year, and how they were going to go about reaching those. So everyone got together and we all shared everyone's goals were shared with everyone so we could hold each other accountable. The coaching staff did the 5 goals as well. So right there, we already kind of created the sense of accountability amongst each other. In the spring of 2020, we had I was still the assistant coach. I was still in charge of training sessions, but I also did a lot of mental sessions, sports psychology. That's something that I'm fascinated by, that I have a lot of books and things like that on the matter. So in our mental sessions, one thing, because we had such emotional responses to everything, I basically, we would do activities like Google Forms that they would fill out in situations where you dominated the whole game. There's 5 minutes left. You just got scored on, even though that was maybe their only chance of the game, but they scored on you. There's 5 minutes left. What's your first thought? What's your first response? And some guys were, I mean, we told the guys to be honest. Some guys they wrote down like, oh, here we go again. You know, like the past starts to settle into their head. Some guys were saying, I'm going to encourage my team. I'm going to say, let's go, boys. And things like that. However, we really worked with the guys on, don't, like, even saying let's go and encouraging, you might feel like you're helping, but that's an emotional response. Oh, here we go again, that's already an emotional response. You're mentally limiting yourself. So those components we talked about, the only thing that will help you in those last 5 minutes is being action oriented. And that goes into, it's kind of down here. It's Carol Dweck's growth and fixed mindset. We did a lot. I had a guys take a quiz to kind of see what kind of mindset they had. And every single guy on the team, when they did the mindset quiz, they all, like when they read what the result was and what they had scored, they all agreed with what they received, because they all finally understood, a growth mindset. You're going to look to, if something goes wrong or you can't do something, you're thinking, well, I can't do it just yet. And as opposed to a fixed mindset, was we had guys that, they struggle with something and they think, oh, I can't do this. I'm not talented enough. So, the verbiage that we used with the guys changed. We told the guys, you can't, the world tells you that what you can and can't do, don't do that to yourself. So there was a lot of kind of like a mental switch. And on here, it's in parentheses, it says a national champion mentality. The goal for the guys in the spring, and we talked about it, and it took the guys a bit to kind of grasp the concept and buy into that. But we told them that if our mindset wasn't to win a national championship this season, then we were already limiting ourselves to what we could and couldn't do. And that's not the mindset we wanted. So even now, if you ask any of the guys, if you ask them what the goal is for this season, they're going to tell you it's a national championship. Whether that's going to happen or not, I don't think this team has qualified a postseason in conference in 8 or 9 years. So it may not happen, but if we're not thinking that way and training that way, then we're limiting ourselves. And the guys really bought into that. The thing about that I put about the BIST model, and I'll go ahead and show what that means. BIST stands for Behavior Intervention Support Team. I did this with my middle school, and we basically had what was the 5 expectations that we had for the guys. The 5 expectations that we had for them were being on time, being engaged, giving 100% effort, having a positive body language, and then wearing the appropriate attire so that we look like a team. So this was something that the guys struggled with a lot. So what we did was, we found a way to hold them accountable. We told the guys, every single one of you is going to help the team, whether you're part of the team or not, you're going to help the team. So they all knew that they had an opportunity to contribute, whether it was being part of it or not. And the BIST model, it's not something that, like you messed up, we got you. It's more like hey, you're lacking a skill, and maybe your skill that you're lacking is being on time. We want to help you. So they all got this, basically what it looked like to be on time in academics, arrive to class at a certain time, training, be ready to go 10 minutes before, team activities, be there 10 minutes before. Being engaged, they also got what that would look like, 100% effort. They got what that would look like in those 3 scenarios. Positive body language, there's examples of the 3 scenarios of what they would do, and wearing appropriate attire. Basically, this came down to a 3 strikes policy. And this is something that I'm doing with the guys the first day. They have to sign a contract saying that they understand that if they want to be on the team, they're going to be on these 5 expectations, and they're going to be on this 3 strikes policy. But the first one, basically, they're put on a behavior card, and this is what the behavior card looks like. So this was me. Let's say that they got their strike in was not paying attention. They're not engaged. So maybe they were talking or not focusing when the coaching staff was talking. So anytime they have a strike, they're put on a card. So we actually first day of practice this season, 2 freshmen showed up, and they showed up at like 2:53, and we started at 3:00. So they were put on this behavior card. And for them, their question, there's always a guided question. For them, it's, why is it important to be on time? And then they always answer, because it's important to be on time because it shows that I am responsible and that people can depend on me. So for this one, if I were, this player was me, I was talking when the coach was talking, we would ask them, what will you do when a coach / staff is talking? I will be silent, look them in the eye, and give them my full attention. So basically, they would present this card. For 2 weeks, they'd have to be on this card if they don't earn any strikes. If they show up and they don't have the card, that's a second strike. But like, let's say they on a Monday they come in and they have training, they give this to me at the beginning of training. If there's no issues at the end of training, they come up to me before they get their card. I ask them the question. If they answer correctly, I write here training, initial it, and then any comments like, hey, good job paying attention today, or hey, good job, in training, you worked hard. At the end of the week, they fill out these questions saying like, what are things that you did this week to help you improve on your behavior goals? And then they would write that down. And then as you reflect, how will these positive changes help your team? So once again, it's not us punishing them. These cards aren't a punishment. It's just a way for us to hold them accountable and teach them skills that maybe they did not learn from their parents or in school. So that alone, like holding them accountable, was big. This year, like I said, we have the 2 freshmen were on the card, but other than that, we have not had a single issue with that. So the summer for what we did, and this is like when the practicum started, there's a training program that I had a buddy of mine that he coaches at. He coaches at Philadelphia Union, which is a professional team. I asked, he's a sports science guy, so I asked him for their training plan. And if we want to have a national championship mentality, we have to train like the way the best train. So we gave them that this summer, and guys came in fit. They're ready to go this year. And then obviously heavy recruiting because we didn't have the best players. And unfortunately, our 4 starters are not going to be here till January because of COVID. So, but the thing is, we might not have as much talent as we had in the past, but all the guys this year, every single training has been literally at game speed, and everyone's on and everyone's focused. And even if there's not the 4 guys that provide a lot of talent for the team aren't there, we have the work ethic and everyone's working hard. So I think that in itself, the culture is already changing. Um, so that, and then obviously halfway through the summer, when I was head coach, now I had more control over everything. Last year I didn't control how many practices we had a day, but I controlled what we did in those practices. This year, I control everything. So we're only training once a day. A lot of people think, oh, preseason, do 3 a days or 2 a days or whatever. But we talked to the guys, and I worked with our trainer, who's also very knowledgeable in this. And the first day we talked to the guys, we're training once a day so that we can treat it like a game, so that you can play at game pace. That way you're not thinking, oh, I'm going to pace myself because I have another training later on in the day. So that has brought out so much out of our guys, and we can see the culture change. Excuse me. So that was so far, like that's been the bulk of everything we've done. This year or last year as well with the training, all of our returners this year, we've been making sure that there's no emotional reactions or emotional things being said. Everything's driven and has a purpose. So our returners this year, for all the new guys coming in, they've literally been leaders for them. They've told them from the start, like, hey, this is how things are done here. Hey, these behavior card things, that's not a joke. Like, if you want to be on the team, you better do that, or you're gonna get 3 strikes and you're out. And everyone's been on, and it's been great. The fall already, I've already kind of talked about it, but I'm seeing the culture develop exactly as we thought it would. And it's coming to fruition, continue the BIS model, like I said. And then I'm having some of our leaders and some of the guys that struggle with, like, they want to be leaders, but they struggle with talking to people. I've had them read The Chimp Paradox. They're in the process of reading it now, by Professor Steve Peters. And that book basically talks about how humans have various sides. We have our chimp side, which is like our emotional, like, like freaking out, doesn't really think rationally, just emotionally driven. That's the chimp in us. Then our human side, that's the logical thought. We're calm, we're in control. And then there's also, they mentioned like the computer side, which is like our instincts and things like that. But the biggest focus for our guys, I told them to think about the chimp and the human. If you notice someone and they're being emotional, that's their chimp side. I've never seen someone like a human go up and try to reason with a chimp. Like that's kind of like the picture that we painted for the guys. If you see someone's chimp side out, then don't go talk to them at that moment. Let them calm down, let them be a human, then go talk to them. Same thing if you're being a chimp and someone else is being a chimp, that's just asking for trouble. um and then we also talk about controlling your own emotion. If you have a chimp or a dog, that has a lot of energy, you wouldn't you would go and like maybe take your chimp to play at a park so they can lose their energy. And that would be for some people that's going on a run or playing video games, something to take their mind off of their stress that's causing the emotional response. So like just that book in general has helped our guys be better leaders. And then we just finished up our individual meetings and preseason questionnaires. All the guys so far that are returners have said that there's been a complete 180 change in the program, like 180-degree change. Like everything's spot on. They're saying like obviously we're missing the talent that we wanted to have, but the fact that we're playing together and everyone's working hard and everyone's working for each other, like that outweighs the talent. And just hearing that obviously after all the work we've done is great. That's literally what my practicum was. That's what the focus was for me, was to change the culture. So I think, my plan was we would have had already 3 games played by this time, but because of COVID and stuff, things are getting pushed back. But I can't wait to be on the field and watch these guys play, because I think good things are going to happen. Their minds are in the right place. But that's the bulk of my practicum. I was able to apply a lot of the stuff that I learned through the classes, and I'm excited to see it play out, because I think all the foundation, everything that I did, and then 16 weeks is looking pretty good. So that's all I have.